Morning, everybody. Good morning. If I can have your attention for just a second. My role here, first of all, is to welcome all of you here this morning, both those of you who are here in our live audience, and we have a number of students who are also tied in via teleconference on the TV screen here. My name is Steve Perry. I'm the President and Executive Director of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And we're honored that all of you have decided to come and spend your morning with us. I hope at the end of today that you will say that you had a really good time, had a lot of fun, and that maybe you learned something interesting from this session. We call this session our Heart of a Hall of Famer program. And the idea is to talk about what it takes, what kind of heart does one have to achieve the goal in life to be a Hall of Famer. Obviously, as we are the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that's our emphasis, but you could be a Hall of Famer in other walks of life, outside of football and outside of sports. And so the purpose of the program, as I said, is to think about that. What does it take to achieve your goals in life? What kind of character will help you weather the storms that you surely will confront during the course of your trials and tribulations to try to get to your goals? And we think that there is no better way than to give young people some information about how that can be done than to have someone come here who has done that, someone who can say, I've been there, I've done that. I was in your shoes, I had goals in my life, I weathered the storms, the trials and tribulations, and achieved the highest level of success in my career. Well, that's what Coach Marv Levy has done. And that's why he's a member of this great institution, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So we're delighted that Mr. Levy is with us this morning and that he's willing to share some of his time discussing that subject. In a minute, Jerry Saki is going to come up here and explain the details of the program, how things will work, and he'll give each school an opportunity to introduce itself. But I first want to take just a minute or two to tell you a little bit about our guest speaker today, Marv Levy. Mr. Levy grew up in Chicago, Illinois, where he attended South Shore High School. In 1943, when he graduated, and he was your age, World War II was going on at that time, so he decided to enlist in the United States Air Force and Army Air Force and serve his country. And as he did that, he was following in the footsteps of his father, who had served in World War II and was a highly decorated veteran of that war. Mr. Levy attended Cole College, that's in Iowa, where he earned his degree in English literature, and later he earned a master's degree in English history from Harvard. Because he was such an outstanding student, he earned the high academic honor of being a Phi Beta Kappa Society scholar. At the same time that he was doing all the hard work that it must have taken for him to win those academic awards, he was an outstanding athlete. He was on Cole College's football team, he was on its basketball team, and he was on the track team. He was captain of those teams. As we all know, Mr. Levy went on to be one of the most successful football coaches in the history of the National Football League. Before he got to the NFL, he coached at the high school level and he coached at the college level. He coached at his old alma mater, Cole College in Iowa. He also coached at the University of New Mexico. He coached at the University of California, where a guy by the name of Bill Walsh, who went on later to coach the San Francisco 49ers, was one of Mr. Levy's coaching assistants. And then he finished his college coaching career at the Distinguished College of William and Mary. In 1969, he began his NFL coaching career. He was a kicker coach and a special teams coach with the Philadelphia Eagles, the LA Rams, and the Washington Redskins. His first head coaching job was in Montreal, where he coached the Montreal Alouettes of the Canadian Football League. In 5 seasons there, he took his teams to 3 CFL Grey Cup appearances and 2 national championships. And he won the equivalent of the Coach of the Year in 1974. In 1978, he returned to the NFL as the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. In 1986, Marv Levy was chosen to be the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, and most of us know him primarily for his successful seasons as the Buffalo Bills head coach. In his his first full year, maybe second full year coaching, he turned the team's fortunes around. They had a 12-4 record, and they won their first of 6 AFC Eastern Division titles. He had what some of you players and coaches certainly will remember as the famous no-huddle offense. And Coach Levy led his AFC championship team to 4 consecutive Super Bowl appearances. From 1988 to 97, the Bills were the first in the AFC in winning percentage and second only to the San Francisco 49ers in the NFL. Mr. Levy is the winningest football coach in Buffalo Bills history. He compiled a record of 112 wins against 70 losses in the regular season play, and in the playoffs he was 11-8 during his 11-and-a-half-year season. Obviously, he had a very, very successful career in the National Football League as a coach. He was named the NFL Coach of the Year in 1988 and the AFC Coach of the Year in 88, 93, and 95. Now in his post-football career, he's a very successful author. Mr. Levy is a young 86 years old. Now, all you guys and ladies, many of you are athletes. Coach Levy still runs 3 miles a day. So he's a pretty good athlete still to this day. In 2001, Coach Marv Levy earned the highest honor that anyone associated with pro football can achieve when he was enshrined here in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now, I'd like our video folks to show you a brief video of some of Mr. Levy's NFL coaching days.
Entered Harvard Law School in the fall of 1950, stayed about 3 weeks and said to myself, I want to be a coach.
Marv Levy first became a head coach in the NFL in 1978 with the Kansas City Chiefs. But he is best known as the leader of the Buffalo Bills from 1986 through his retirement in 1997.
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Way to come back, guys. Way to hang in there.
Levy led the Bills to 8 postseason appearances in 11 years and was the first man to coach a team to 4 consecutive Super Bowls.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to greet legendary NFL coach and Pro Football Hall of Famer Marv Levy.
Thank you very much, Steve. I'm complimented to be here today to talk with you guys who I have a feeling are pretty highly motivated for what lies ahead, whether it be in the athletic field or in other endeavors. And you can't separate the two. You shouldn't. Let me put it that way. You shouldn't separate the two. They both are so darn important. And that's why I was so pleased and complimented to talk on a program based on those 6 pillars of character. Because I want to tell you something that we had determined when I coached the Buffalo Bills. We conveyed to our players, we conveyed to our great fans in Buffalo, to everybody in our organization, that ability without character will lose. Ability without character will lose. There's never an assurance you're going to walk off the field as a winner. But the guys that don't have character, when things don't work right, they begin to undermine the teams. Well, we're not talking about not having character. We're talking about having character, about the positives. And I look down those 6 pillars of success and know how important they were, that trustworthiness, respect, caring, fairness, citizenship, all those qualities, responsibility. You know, I think of trustworthiness, and one of those things that always resonated with me was that it's great that you have friends that have earned your trust, right? Boy, you'd love to have friends that are so good that they've earned your trust. And you do that by having a trustworthiness that earns you friends. So character is such an important part of what it takes, I believe, to be successful, not just in life, but on the football field or any athletic endeavors or any endeavors that you invest yourself into. You know, as coach of the Buffalo Bills, we only had 2 rules for our team. Just 2 rules. One, be on time. That's responsibility, of course. You can convey it to that one. And the other was be a good citizen. Be a good citizen. Be someone whom your teammates, your family, you yourself have reason to respect. So be a good citizen. Everything else we tried to educate our players to. Beyond that, beyond those 2 things. Don't be selfish. Don't go into an end zone dance that is saying me, me, me. Your teammates helped you get there. Give the ball to the official and line up. Pretend you've been there before and you're going to be there again. It's the way the great running backs like Walter Payton, Gale Sayers, Thurman Thomas, that's the way they were. Like they've been there before and you're going to be there again. You came to play. You didn't come to put on a show. What you do speaks so loudly that no one can hear what you're saying sometimes. So I'm proud to be part of this program. You know, the great Martin Luther King Jr. once said, I'm talking about character now, character qualities. He once said, it's, you know, some things people do because they're sort of popular things to do. Oh, everybody's going to think of it, you know, they're popular. Others you do because, well, maybe they have a good political impact. I'm getting an advantage if I do this. Some things you do because they're the right thing to do. And then Martin Luther King Jr. went on to say, if number 1 and number 2 ever come in conflict with number 3, do the right thing. Boy, that makes sense to me, too. I was very fortunate to be associated with the Buffalo Bills. Not just those great players, and they were, but with the character that they had, with the resilience that they had, with the way they would immerse themselves in the preparation, with the caring they had about their teammates, about the fans in Buffalo, with the care they had about the people that worked in the offices. They got tighter and tighter. Those of you who are good football fans might know, or maybe you're too young to have been there at the time, but that we went to those 4 straight Super Bowl games and didn't win any of them. Yes, we made tremendous efforts to win them. But what happened when we lost them? The players didn't start to blame other guys. They didn't say the officiating did it. They didn't give up. They didn't quit. They didn't whimper. They went back to work. They went after it. They repaired. And then that's a long, hard way to get to the Super Bowl game. Think about it, guys. There are 32 very talented teams that come to training camp every year, all of them wanting desperately to make it to the playoffs. And only 12 of them make it there. Of those 12, 11 of the teams finished their season with a loss. Well, again, what you've got to do is understand it, go back to work. It's a game as hard as you strive. You know, so success, whether it's in football, other sports, or in life, isn't just winning and losing. Isn't just always coming out on top. It's how you played the game. It's how you played the game that is so important. Yeah, in life, you'd like to have other people have reason to like you and to respect you, and that's very important. But you'd also like to have reason to like and respect yourself because you did it honestly. You did it the hard way. You did it by applying yourself. And again, these 6 pillars of character certainly point to that. So those of you who are into sports or whatever else it might be, I'll say some things to you that I'll conclude my brief initial remarks to you by saying something I always said to our team. Play hard, play clean, play to win, but win or lose, honor the game, honor your teammates, honor your opponent, and then you will be a winner. You will be a winner. It's my pleasure to be here and share today with you. I know we're going to have a fairly lengthy question and answer period, which I'm looking forward to, and if there are questions on your mind or things I can answer, it'll be my pleasure to do so. But for the time being, I'm going to turn this over to Jerry Saki right now. Okay, Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach, and let's give Coach Levy another round of applause for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Frank.
Before we get started, there's a few folks that I need to recognize that I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize those folks because of all the things that they do to make this day happen. And obviously, first of all, is obviously Coach Levy for making the trip here from Chicago, but also, the Hall of Fame's under outstanding leadership here from top down. And let's give a round of applause to our President and Executive Director, Steve Perry, who many of you are from Canton. He's a Cantonite, so he's proud to have. Although I think it was Timken though that he went to. Maybe I shouldn't throw that out there, but he went to Timken as opposed to McKinley. But other folks that we need to recognize. And Adam, if you can raise your hand, I know you don't like be. He's one of those people who just likes to be behind the scenes. Adam Shipley's spoken to a lot of the teachers that are here. He's also the one controlling the camera views for you folks that are tuning in through video conferencing. Adam has done an outstanding job in making sure to get this going and prepared, and a teammate that we rely upon each other, as Coach Levy shared about teammates. That extends here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and without that, it wouldn't be possible. So let's give Adam a round of applause, please. We have our video staff, Jim Ferrucci, and you can see the little head out the window there. Galena, if you raise your hand up there. Hello, Galena. Our audio-video staff, let's give them a round of applause as well. And then last but definitely not least, as you guys came in, you were greeted by them. You were probably escorted down here by them. They're spread throughout the museum to make sure that you are enjoying your visit and your experience here to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the folks with the white shirts on throughout here. Let's give a round of applause to our volunteers. Thank you. Just a couple more, I swear. But definitely the real stars of the show are the schools that are here and participating here today. And first and foremost, I would like to thank your teachers, your coaches, your principals, whoever it might be that brought you here today. Because it does take work to take you out of class, the logistics, the planning. It takes work to make this successful, make this happen. So thank you to the coaches and teachers. Let's give them a round of applause. And last but definitely not least, let's give a round of applause to yourself, the students here. Thank you for being here.
Okay.
But what we'd like to do is give you guys an opportunity, as well as the schools from tuning in from across the country, the opportunity to show a little school spirit. When I recognize your school, I'd like you to recognize yourself by giving a little cheer or clap or whatever it is that you want to do, and just to let the schools know where you guys are coming from, and also the schools that are tuning in from video conferencing from across the country, let them know who's here, and vice versa. You guys can hear what students we have from across the country tuning in, watching this, and able to interact with Coach Levy here. So let's start with this groups in the live audience. First of all, we have Lorraine High School. Right here? Okay, Lorraine, thank you for being here. East Tech? Thank you, East Tech, for being here. And let's stay here in Canton, Ohio. Let's go with McKinley Bulldogs here. And then I think future Bulldogs. We got Crenshaw Middle School. Thank you, Crenshaw. We appreciate you guys being in attendance here. We'd also like to recognize the schools, just so you guys know, again, we have an audience from across the country. We'd also like to recognize those students that are tuning in through video conferencing. And at this time, as I call upon your school, that school can feel free to unmute your mic and show a little school spirit. And again, I'll preface that by saying, teachers, close your doors. So I apologize for having your students yell in your classroom, but we'll show a little school spirit in that way, because we got students from all over the place. First, let's start off in Louisiana at Welsh High School. Are you there? Thank you, Welsh. Appreciate you being here. Go ahead and mute your mics there. And let's go to Huntsville, Alabama with Mountain Gap. Enthusiastic group, thank you. Thank you, Mountain Gap. Go ahead and mute your mics there. And let's go to Omaha, Nebraska, and Nathan Hale Magnet Middle School. We really need to get TV monitors so you guys can see this. You guys would enjoy this. Let's go to, we'll save this group for last, because it's pretty special for Coach Levy here. Let's go to Wisconsin, Boyceville, Wisconsin. Boyceville School District?
they say?
Wisconsin.
We'll come back to Boyceville in just a minute here. Maybe they got connected. I know they were connected earlier. Let's go to New York and Cuba High School. Okay, thank you, Cuba. And last, but definitely not least, the reason why I saved them from last, because they're coming from your stint there in Buffalo. We've got Bennett High School. From Buffalo, New York. So thank you, Bennett, for tuning in. And I want to remind all the schools that are tuned in by video conferencing is to make sure to mute your mics throughout the program. When we call upon you, we will try to get at least one question fielded from each of the schools that are turning in through video. But before we start with the questions, and that's the question order that we'll go to for the video conference groups. We'll go from Welsh, Mountain Gap, Nathan Hale, Bennett, Boyceville, and Cuba. So let's we'll go ahead and call in that order when we get to you guys. But one thing I encourage all the students that are here as a live audience as well as video conferencing, now think about this for a second. You have one of the greatest minds in pro football history, one of the greatest coaches. And what's really amazing about it, you heard Coach Levy and Steve Perry say this, is that not only is he a great evaluator of talent and athleticism, but you hear what he put above all that, he's a great judge of character. And that's how he built his franchise and built his team to become one of the greatest franchises in history. When they talk about great teams, the Buffalo Bills are one of those teams. Even though they didn't win the Super Bowls, but to go to 4 Super Bowls, it's unheard of. It doesn't happen. And you have the opportunity to ask he might deflect this, but the leader of that team, what it took, what adversity, what barriers did he cross, not only in football, but before that, growing up, through life, and all the different things that he encountered throughout his life. You have an opportunity to learn how he overcame those obstacles, because we all have barriers in our life, some small on a daily basis, some large, that can shake up our lives. But you have an opportunity to learn of how Mr. Levy, Coach Levy, overcame the obstacles that were presented in front of him. So I encourage you to ask those thought-provoking questions of him about the 6 core pillars of character: the trustworthiness, the respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. So with that being said, we're going to open up to a few questions from the live audience, and we'll go to Welsh and Mountain Gap here in just a moment. Just want to let the schools know that are in attendance here, please, we have microphones that will be passed around. We have volunteers that will be passing those around. Please speak your question clearly into the microphone. I will probably repeat it just for sakes of making sure that the groups that are tuned in from across the country heard that as well. So go ahead with your questions. If anybody has their, we got a couple hands that are back here.
What's your overall win and losses like throughout your whole career?
What was your overall wins and losses throughout your career?
Okay. First of all, I will start out by saying, fellas, as my age has increased, my hearing has decreased. So Jerry will be repeating a lot of the questions while I'm up here. I don't know. I think because of college, high school, so on and so forth, I think everything considered in Kansas City, I once saw where we had 154 wins. I remember the wins, not the losses. I don't know how many of those there were, but it was something like that. I'm not challenging Don Shula, who won so many. But certainly the wins were fun and exciting, and the losses sometimes cause you to go harder after those wins or to do what you needed to do to prepare for those next wins. You're going to hear that word prepare so many times from me up here today. Preparation is so important. Somebody once asked me if our players had the will to win. I said, wait a minute. Do they have the will to prepare? Because if they don't have the will to prepare, they don't really have the will to win no matter what they might say. So preparation, very important.
Great, thank you. We've got another one back here, and I think somebody up here. We'll go to this one back here and then over here.
Who was your toughest opponent in the Super Bowl?
What was your toughest opponent in the Super Bowl? Yeah. Okay. What was your toughest opponent?
Oh, boy, the other team. I can't say. Twice we played the Dallas Cowboys, and they won both of those games. We took a lead at halftime in one of the games against them, but lost it later. I'd have to say maybe the best team we played with the talent would be those Dallas Cowboys, yes, from the 1993 and 1994 seasons.
Couple bronze busts of those Cowboys players upstairs here. So
Okay.
let's
Yes.
go to question here, and then we're going to go to Welsh and Mountain Gap after that.
If you was to coach again, what team would you coach for?
If you were to coach again, what team would you coach for? And maybe what team do you think shows the best character, maybe?
Well, I have such an affection for Buffalo Bills. And now I know they've been just struggling along right now, but we had great fans there. They were wonderful to us. I've coached in other places, although I was only there 1 year. I had wonderful remembrances of my year with the Washington Redskins. As far as who's the best team right now, you got Green Bay, San Francisco. But if I had to go back, if you pinned me down and said, come on, answer the darn question, the Buffalo Bills or my hometown, the Chicago Bears.
Fair enough. We got a Bears fan over here. Is that what we have? Let's go ahead and go to our schools that are tuning in through video conference. We'll go to a couple questions from there. Let's go to Louisiana Welsh High School. If you guys have a question, go ahead and share that.
Coach Levy, in general, do you think character is less valued today?
In general, do you think character is less valued today?
No,
question.
I don't think it's less value. I don't think it's more. I think character is always a prominent requirement for success. Now, by success, I don't mean that you're going to become a billionaire. I don't mean you're going to become president or senator. I mean you're going to say, I was given this one life and I contributed to so many other people, whether it's my family, my friends, my associates. I learned a lot. I brought things in that inspired me. Character kept me on track. Character kept me from giving up when things didn't go right. Character kept me away from doing scandalous things, from being selfish, too selfish. If you do something just out of selfishness, can you really like yourself? Not really, no.
Okay, great question, Welsh. And let's go from Louisiana to Alabama. At Mountain Gap, if you got a question, go ahead.
Have you ever been undefeated in your season?
Have you ever been undefeated in your season?
Ever been undefeated? Not in professional football. There's only been one team that's ever gone all the way undefeated. The Miami Dolphins, and I got to tell you,
there, they got it.
huh? Yeah, they got it, huh? And I got to tell you, I was with the Washington Redskins, who, as an assistant, who played them in the Super Bowl that year. So we had the chance to curtail that, but they did beat us in the game 14-7, a very hard-fought game. Other than that, I don't recall that we ever went undefeated. We had some great seasons where we might have lost a game, maybe two, but not undefeated, no.
And let's go ahead. Thank you, some of the schools in video conference, and we'll come back to you in just a moment with Nathan Hale and Bennett there in Buffalo, New York. Let's go to a couple from the live audience here. If you got a couple out here. We've got a gentleman up front.
Young man here, what's he got?
In the back. If we can get
Right
gentleman.
behind you, Adam.
What motivated you to be a coach?
What motivated you to be a coach?
First of all, I entered college with a passion for getting an education and for athletics. One did not supersede the other. And getting the education, I think, actually helped me athletically. Getting the education helped prepare me to be a coach. To just say, I just want the sports, I would never have been a coach. I would never have been one. I wouldn't have been prepared for it. I wouldn't have known how to communicate. I wouldn't have known how to study, how to prepare. But to answer more directly the question, I was at a small college as an undergraduate, a Division III school, co-college. And my coaches there were fantastic teachers. And I idolized them. And I said, boy, that's great. Actually, when I graduated, I did what I entered college to do. I went on to law school. But before I left, one of my college coaches told me that if I ever really wanted to coach, I maybe could get a job on his staff. And boy, that sunk in. Maybe that was part of the motivating process. But the rest of it was learning over the years how inspiring athletics can be if they're approached correctly. And that coaching is more than sports, it's education. Coaching is more than winning games, it's helping people. It's making friends for life, as I've seen so many of the former players on my team be. I've seen them grow, and I remember that finally. So seeing that coaching was more than just sports, that it was a way of life, that motivated me. And it was, you know what? Once I started to coach, there were times you put in very long hours, maybe 17 hours a day, 7 days a week for 7 straight months. Long hours. But I never worked a day in my life. It was fun. It was fun.
We got a gentleman up front here, and then we'll go to the one over here.
I was going to ask, how much different was the Super Bowl week than any other week?
I did get it. How much different was the Super Bowl week than any other week? And yes, it's different because there's tremendous media input. Your players are in a location, quote, on the road all week long during the regular season.